What I'm about to talk about today is so convoluted, so complex, so layered that I don't even know exactly where to begin and when is it going to end. I will do my best to present the clear out situation, but this is such a large web of absolute abhorrent practices that are being very rapidly implemented all across either EU, the UK, and possibly the United States that I don't think even normal people who do videos on a burst can react and can inform the people of the world fast enough. Greetings, ladies and gents, my name is Hills, the bearded Balkan blabbermouth, and I am discussing it. Today we're going to talk about the supposed web of connected events that have one thing in common. They all want to censor, privatize, remove anonymity, and enforce oppressive identification laws all around, all while censoring content all around the globe in the form of safety. But before we do that, I would kindly ask you, if you enjoy my content, if you enjoy what you see, please press the like and subscribe buttons and consider becoming a channel member. It will help me as a creator and it will help homeless animals and animals in shelters. Thank you very much. And now back. So the whole thing started pretty much when Madame Savvy actually started exposing Collective Shout, who were on a campaign to censor stuff on Steam and on other platforms, targeting Visa and MasterCards for alleged porn and rape content on Steam and other platforms, and basically Steam kind of bending the knee. All of those stuff I have covered partially in my previous video, and if you want to have the full, very extensive scope of everything with a lot of details, Madame Savvy's name is on the screen. I would kindly encourage you to go and visit. She has done an absolute expose worthy of a documentary in my opinion, and this is her post that is kind of connected, saying this is the CEO of MasterCard. The CEO of MasterCard seems to like the idea of ID verification. This is something that we're gonna talk about. It's gonna be the main topic of this video. The CEO of MasterCard wants to build safe tech. This is the prime word of this whole thing. Safe, safety, keep the children safe, keep vulnerable groups safe. You should politely let the CEO of MasterCard know how you feel about what he has done. Thanks to their vague rules, they're able to censor anyone they don't like while servicing Hollywood, which produces all the same story concepts, just with the side of backdoor abuse, harassment, rape, and PDF Ilya. Michael is encouraging MasterCard to engage in overreach, violating local laws in Japan, Korea, USA, and around the world. This is kind of connected with the whole cuties thing, because cuties is about, if you know, those little girls that are dancing in skimpy clothes, which is approved by companies like Collective Shout that call it brave and stuff like that, but also don't want specific games that are extremely niche in the Steam community and on other platforms, but somehow they're a problem because apparently they teach violence. Now, in the previous video, I said that if they teach violence, if video games and violent video games teach violence or teach abhorrent behavior, the world would not exist. I stand by that, and I think everyone with a common brain cell that is working in their head will know that. But again, we're talking about a very nasty Karen political organization, or activist organization in this case, that is basically integrating itself into the political spectrum. However, this is not the main topic. This is just one of the tendrils of the whole Hydra, octopus, whatever you want to call it, that is connected. No, we're actually here to talk about something much worse, in my opinion. This is a post by Pirate Nation, which is for EU. This is from AVN. EU gives platforms 12 months to deploy strict age verification. This comes only a few days after the UK posted the Online Safety Act, which requires ID verification on pretty much every platform that you go. Which means that even if you have a social media platform, even if you have something like Discord, something like a chat program, something like a forum, which you basically use only your username and your email without almost never using your full legal name, you still need to present that website with an ID. And I explained the problems behind it, especially for the EU when it goes to the GDPR, because GDPR is a mechanism that protects your personal data with every company that operates inside the EU. It does require ID verification very often, especially when you have a financial institution, when you have stuff like this, you need to present your financial information. However, this is very heavily protected. However, GDPR can also be used to identify people, especially in certain criminal circumstances. And when you have a platform that engages in opinionated conversation, engages in you going to forums and just expressing your viewpoint, someone who doesn't like them and who does have political connections might potentially, eventually, allegedly, request that information from said social platform that shouldn't have your full legal name in the first place. We're seeing this also attempted to happen on X. Collective Shout is also targeting X, urging Elon Musk to ban all porn from the platform. And if you're wondering why I'm mentioning Collective Shout again, is because it all started with them. They're banning, they're censoring, and the UK is basically moving with the Online Protection Act, and EU and US are going to follow, potentially requesting ID and banning anything that might be harmful to children. At the same time, Bing now enforces safe search for all UK users, even those with verified 18 plus Microsoft accounts, with no way to turn it off if you don't use a VPN. On that note, VPN has surged 1800% in Britain in the last few days, all thanks to the Online Safety Act. Why? Because teenagers aren't stupid, they have outsmarted MPs who don't know a router from a toaster. Kids bypass the nanny states, porn blocks within hours. And that's pretty much the gist of it. You have these absolutely idiotic laws aimed to protecting children. However, children, especially 16-year-olds, they're smart, they're tech savvy, they're going to outsmart, they're going to use a VPN, they're going to use 5 VPNs, they're going to figure out something, and hackers are just going to come out with illegal software that is going to be redistributed around faster than you can blink, and they're still going to see that. However, when you have that kind of software that trades entirely your safety, even the one's safety that you already have from official platforms, and bypasses them and bypasses your laws, then you don't have any safety. Then these hackers can potentially, allegedly, do anything. So this is kind of kicking in the nuts and kind of kicking the own face of these online protections, because it's not about safety. Let's just be honest, let's show away every pretense. This is not about safety. This is about control. They don't enjoy that anonymity. No government enjoys that there are platforms where people can still be anonymous. They do not like the VPNs because you can redirect where you are and not share your location with the internet. They don't agree that you have a animated VTuber or whatever avatar and you don't have a picture of yourself. They don't like people being anonymous. They want to know everyone, everywhere, every time, at any given moment, because that's how they establish control, how they begin to establish every bit of narrative they like, because they will know where you are, what you do, what you search for, and they'll be able to save everyone from the few bad elements that exist. And I'm sure that someone out there thinks that this is preferable, especially when you talk about anonymous harmful organizations that do aim to do massive damage to the populace. That is true. However, on that note, there are other mechanisms that are being constantly used, and they're much more serious than such an Online Safety Act. We all know that kids will not do anything to protect themselves, and we know that kids and teenagers will use their parents' accounts, they will use their parents' devices. And because we live in a society when a lot of families have to have two constantly working parents that are overburdening themselves, and then both of them are very busy doing the housework, and they're often leaving children just on their iPads, on their phones, on their personal computers that have the parents' login details, and the children are always free to engage. And especially if that content is forbidden, it's just going to be that more tasty to them. And here we have actually a very good example of what happens when someone tries to implement it. This is from Grumps. Do you look young? Discord permanently suspended this UK person because they didn't look old enough. This system is insane. This is from Ghost on X, who says, so in an attempt to verify my age by having the Discord app look at my face, I was immediately permanently suspended. This is after trying to use my ID, which didn't work. I've sent an appeal, but it looks like I will lose my account over this shoddy fucking system and I'll crash out. And you get this screenshot, your account is suspended. You broke the rules for minimum age requirements. So if someone looks young enough, or too young in this case, no matter that they have an ID, no matter if they're 30 or 50 years old, but they have a baby face or something, they're still going to be suspended immediately from the social platforms. And imagine what that's gonna do for some creators. If they can ban you for something like this, they can ban you from anything. They can ban you for any safety purpose. Let's get that clear as well. When you talk about safety, it's a slippery slope. Everybody loves safety. That's true. Everybody wants to be safe on the internet. Everybody wants to feel okay to browse and stuff like that. However, we also like to be free. And the safeties that we already have, most people, if not 90% of the people, are okay with those safeties. And they take matters into their own hands to additionally make themselves safe. They get a VPN, they get additional protections, they get antiviruses, they get a lot of stuff. They anonymize their details, they don't use their face. Whatever you need to do, you can do it yourself. And this notion that you have kids to protect, well, this is something that we have to discuss in much more length, because it's not about the laws. The laws are not gonna do anything. It's the culture that needs to change. It's the whole system that needs to change. It needs to allow parents to educate their children better. It needs to have systems in place that would educate these people, young people, that they're gonna have to protect themselves out there. They have to be prepared for the real world. Coddling, and especially falsely coddling children of this notion of eternal safety, especially when it is a dishonest system and it is actually a measure of control, and teaching them that they're going to be controlled and observed their whole life, and that's making them subservient even from a younger age, is something that is absolutely abhorrent, and it needs to go away, and people need to speak about it. And here we have an amazing post from V, who responded to another account who apparently the post is now unavailable. The internet is safe now. And this is basically the grim picture that you're gonna get from implementing something like this. 1984, complete oppression, you're being watched all the time, Big Brother is watching, and you cannot do anything about it if you don't speak up now. And as I mentioned, that the US is also thinking about this. This is from yesterday, the Kids Online Safety Act, which is co-sponsored by the House Senate. It is built to protect safety of children on the internet, which is deceptively malicious, and it is coming very, very soon after what the UK proposed. And this is the final thought that I'm going to press upon. When you have several countries and several legal entities and governments doing this in a very short amount of time of each other, you know that it is all connected. You know that everything is somehow connected, from collective shout, from the visa censoring, from the banning of porn, from those petitions, from the online acts in UK, then the EU being pressured to have 12 months to implement those same regulations, and you have the US also doing this with this act that is probably going to pass through Senate. You know that they're connected. And I think that there is one person who said a very good thing about it 15 years ago, and I'm gonna just play this now.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
Yeah, it is. It is a big club, and we ain't in it, folks. We are not in it. We're the people who want to have our freedom on the internet. We want to be able to express our opinions. We want to be able to express our thoughts freely, because this is the kind of world we want to live in. It's not only in the US. Everybody wants freedom of thought. Every sensible person wants to promote themselves in a free manner. They want to express their opinions. They want to gather people around them who share those beliefs and to talk about it. They want to know other opinions as well. And when you have sensibility on the matter and when you have a functioning brain, you can do a lot of good things and you can build a stable online presence and society. However, nobody wants that from the governments, because that means that people are going to be free, people are going to be mostly anonymous, and people are going to be uncontrolled. They're not going to be under the thumb, they're not going to be under the supervision, they're going to be running rampant, and they're not going to be accountable to the governments. And most abhorrent of all, the government will not know what its subjects are doing. And this is the fear of every politician, every private group, every lobbyist, everyone who wants to control the narrative, the population, the turn of events, and the historical progression of the countries and everything that is happening. They want total, unequivocal control. They don't want you free. They don't want you to be able to think. They don't want you to be able to express your opinion. They want you to agree, they want you to sign, they want you to be just capable enough to operate whatever they want you to operate, and they want you to be good consumer. That's it. They don't want thinkers. Thinkers are bad, but they will not succeed, or at least they will not succeed with these measures. If they want this, they will have to do something else, and in my opinion, it's going to get bloody really, really fast. But anyways, this is all I have for this video today. It is a kind of a green topic, but we need to be facing the reality at all times. So if you enjoyed this video, please press the like and subscribe button, leave down a comment and share your thoughts on the matter. Do you support these bills, or are you a thinking person? That's, in my opinion, the two choices. And if you want to, please click the join button and become a part of the DiscussThing Guild members. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Helso, this was DiscussThing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers and stay fresh.